I want you to repeat this with me. There's nothing too hard for God. Let that sink in. There's nothing too hard for God. I injured my shoulder, this one right here, over a year ago. And every time I would do a bench press, it would just clack, click, click, and it would just be painful. And I started working out again. Yes, I started the weight loss journey all over again. And this thing was giving me the dickens. And I got tired of dealing with it. I say, if I'm going to talk about God, if I'm going to talk about that God is a healer, that there's a power in me that's greater than any force in this world, all that old kind of stuff, I'm going to prove it. Now, it's been proven before in my life. I got testimony after testimony. I say, but on this one thing, it's going to be proven. So I was working and I was led to get on a prayer call from a preacher I don't even listen to that much, Bishop I.B. Hilliard. And I got on his call and he said, tonight I feel led to pray about pain. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to believe God. And he prayed and he said, touch your hand, touch wherever it hurt, touch it, touch it, touch it. And I laid hands on this shoulder and I said, I'm healed. And I'm healed. And I just believed it. It wasn't no big thing where I'm talking in tongues, crying. I just believed it. Do you know? I let it go. I forgot all about it, right? Later on that day, I started moving the shoulder around and that pain was gone. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I started going back to the gym, started lifting extra heavy, more reps, everything. And the pain is gone. Are y'all listening to me? It's healed. Because I decided to believe there's nothing too hard for God. This virus is not too hard for God. Your finances are not too hard for God. Your situation is not too hard for God. What do you believe? What have you put your foot down to believe? What have you drawn a line in the sand with to say, I believe? Something got to change. Something got to be different. What have you said, I believe to? We have been so conditioned to believe what we don't want to believe, and we call it normal. We believe in fear, and actually fear is nothing but faith in what we don't want. Are you having faith in fear? Or are you having faith in God? Like, go back to what I said at first. There is nothing too hard for God. It's too hard for me. It's too hard for you. It's too hard for whatever we can come up with, but there's nothing too hard for God. I mentally saw myself. This is the technique now. I mentally saw myself telling everybody, man, I'm healed, man. It don't feel the same. It's different. I mentally rehearsed that. I kept replaying that instead of saying, man, I got an issue with this. I got an issue with that. I mentally replayed what I wanted to replay in my head. That's what I did in my head. I replayed it over and over and over. I created a new normal. I created a new version of myself that's pain-free. And I'm living in that to this day. That happened about 3 weeks ago. So repeat after me. There's nothing too hard for God. My finances are not too hard for God. My life is not too hard for God. My mind is not too hard for God. My circumstances are not too hard for God. There's nothing too hard for God. You got to believe that. And you're going to have to get away from some people. You know what I'm saying? Get away from some TV shows. Get away from some social media. Get away from some stuff in order to get this belief in you on whatever circumstance it is. Because we have different issues with different things. You see what I'm saying? And we need different levels of faith for different areas of our lives. Because none of us are perfect. And so whatever that area in your life is, You got to be willing to go in on it. You got to be willing to give up something about it. You got to be willing to sow about it. And when I'm talking about sowing, I'm not talking about no money. I'm talking about fasting from people. I'm talking about sowing in different areas, whether it's a change of attitude, a change of verbiage, a change of whatever. You got to be willing to go in about that thing. What in your life are you willing to go in about so that you can take your faith to the next level? What in your life are you willing to go to that next level with? Or what are you willing to give up so that you can have more of what you're supposed to be? There's nothing too hard for God.